Hey, what's up? My name is PJ, and you are listening to the Music Photo Podcast, session number 13. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Music Photo Podcast. My name is PJ Pantelis. I'll be your host for today. You can find me on Twitter at PJPantelis. Today on the show, we are very lucky to be joined by Nathan Doran. Nathan is a good friend of mine. We basically started doing this whole music photography thing at the same time. We've taken very different paths though. We even started shooting the same genre, shooting some of the same bands, but he's gone down the route of the electronic dance music scene. He shoots a lot of DJs and producers and huge festivals and stages, and he's done so well for himself. He's currently the full-time photographer for a extremely talented duo of young producer DJs called SCNDL, and that's his main gig. But he also works for places like Stereosonic and Defcon, Ultra Glow. He's worked for Armin van Buuren, and basically, yeah, he's just the man. When it comes to EDM, he's a ledge. You're going to want to stick around until the very end of this one, as we cover topics such as EDM music photography and the EDM scene, going against the grain and sticking with your own editing style, finding a niche that you can make a living in it and growing in that niche, and also touring internationally with a dance artist. I'm going to say no more and let the session that I had with Nathan speak for itself. He's an extremely talented and passionate young guy. He's really good at what he does, and I know I was super interested to hear what he says. As always, the show notes can be found at bigpantsphoto.com/podcast. Enjoy. All right, Nathan, thank you so much for joining me this morning. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks heaps for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. What have you been working on so far today?
I'm just getting ready to go to the airport, actually. I'm heading off to the Central Coast in Sydney with my boy SCNDL. So we've got a couple of shows up there for the weekend. So I just packed my bags before, going out for breakfast with Dad for Father's Day because I won't be here on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
And then heading off to the airport.
Nice one,
How about
man.
you, man?
Not too much. Been doing a little bit of podcast editing, and I had a promo shoot from last week that I'm working on as well. And yeah, just a bit of prep for this session we're having today.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I'm so glad to finally link up because we've had a few scheduling issues, but you're a busy man.
It's been so long.
No, it's okay.
You're a busy man as well.
I actually think, from memory, I think you were the first one I ever tried. Like, I wanted you to be the first episode.
Yeah, and we're supposed to. I was in, I think I was in the middle of uni exams.
Yeah,
and then I went on a tour straight away after.
Yeah,
it was just hectic.
To be honest, that was probably like a year ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That was ages ago. Yeah. Hey, cool. Well, let's get stuck into it. Yeah, so you are. I mean, as far as I know, you're the man when it comes to EDM photography in Melbourne. I know there's a couple of other dudes doing a similar thing, but in terms of my sphere of knowledge and my connections, you're the dude. You pretty much work full time with SCNDL.
Yeah, I'm with them full time. I wouldn't say I'm the guy. My friend George, he works on the company named Main Siege Imagery. He's really killing it.
Yeah,
like he's the man. He's on tour in America at the moment with Ruby Rose.
Okay.
He's done a lot, man. He's shot for Rehab, toured with Rehab at Tomorrowland. And these are some like the biggest artists in the world, you know. And he was touring with Will Sparks full time and stuff like that. So he's one of my best mates, and he really is the man. But I appreciate the kind words.
He's like a step up, is he?
Yeah, he's on that next level, man. Like he's really killing it.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, as you're probably aware, because you used to as well, I shoot a lot of the local heavy bands. So I don't know too much about the EDM sort of scene. You're my sort of gateway drug to that.
Well, so, man, I started off exactly the same. Like I used to play in a hardcore mosh metal band.
Yeah.
We used to run shows like down where I live in the peninsula in Melbourne. We used to have shows like every weekend. Like I play shows I play shows with the Ghost Inside, like Carpathian, 50 Lines, and that's all my music roots. Like that's what I loved. Yeah. So that's why I started shooting. And like I remember I got to shoot like the Amity Affliction when they weren't so big, and Dream on Dreamer.
I remember those pics.
My work.
I and
they were, man, I look back at them, they're terrible.
No, they're not. Like you could do beautiful things with an on-camera flash that I never could.
Yeah, man. Well, I was always looking on Tumblr. That's how I found your stuff. And I was looking at your off-camera flash, the press shots you used to do and all that. And I was just like, God, man, this guy's got it going on. I remember I messaged you one time about a light stand.
Oh, yeah, vaguely, like a boom stand or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, about what boom stand you had. But yeah, man, I used to shoot all that kind of stuff, and then I know I kind of got a bit stale. I found it. I didn't have much money or the best camera gear, so I found it hard in the low light
Hmm.
that a lot of these gigs had. I don't know, and then I had uni, and so I really just stopped doing all that, and it was really full on. Like I was doing Bachelor of Science, so had pretty heavy contact hours, and kind of all my friends kind of just drifted from that scene and started partying and stuff. And then my girlfriend got an email from a company called Get a Nightlife,
Yep.
and they just had club photographers, and I was like, oh, this might be a cool way for me to earn a bit of cash and to get some good photos of DJs. And then it just kind of went from that. But I'm like you, my knowledge when I started EDM scene on artists and stuff was so limited. I knew like Dead Mouse and Skrillex, and that was it.
Okay, yeah, well, that's me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Because did you start doing, what was the, was it like a Destroyer Lines night in Frankston? What was that club?
Oh, yeah, there was a Destroyer Lines night in Frankston, and now I can't even remember what it's called, actually. I've gone blank, but a few local guys started running, when that Destroyer Lines night closed, a few of the local boys started running their own independent version of a similar night, like an alternative night. So I used to shoot some bands there and stuff, and then like No Out played, Delaware Wolves, and a few other good
that's
bands.
right.
Yeah, so...
At the Pelly Bar, right?
Yeah, up there, man, that little place in Frankston.
You know what? I actually rate the lights at the Pelly Bar. For a
Yeah.
small venue, it's actually got a cool little lighting setup.
Yeah, it does. And then I used to chuck a couple of off-camera flashes at the back, in the corner to shoot from behind, and yeah, that went pretty well.
Yeah, nice. I think if not, I think it was the very first gig I ever shot with my Nikon D5000 a few years ago was at the Pelly Bar. And
Yeah.
like looking back, the photos were actually good considering how much I knew about photography. And I think it's just because the lights are quite good in there.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about the actual main stage there?
This little stage in the corner.
Oh, yeah. They used to have like a downstairs.
Yeah, Pier Live, is it?
Yeah, Pier Live. That's where I shot Amity that time.
Oh,
and
okay,
360 as well, which was random.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few gigs there. That's a nice big stage. But even just the Pelly Bar, I just remember for a small stage, the lights were not too bad. Yeah,
they actually are really decent there.
Yeah, cool. So that was your intro to the nightclub scene, was it?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'd been... when I was shooting that independent night called Bees Knees that these guys chucked on, I was also shooting clubs full time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not full time. I was at university full time, but I was shooting like a Wednesday night and a Friday night every night, and I kind of just saw an opportunity with that. Like obviously the whole EDM scene was getting a lot bigger, and this Melbourne bounce movement was getting bigger as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of just made the most of it and got good photos of the DJs all the time. Like I don't know if any photographers out there listening that have shot clubs before. If you're not into it, it's pretty draining because people can be quite rude and you get a lot of people tapping you on the shoulder and it can get pretty annoying.
Yeah.
But I kind of just pushed through that knowing that I could get good photos of these artists, of these DJs. And they're not just DJs, they're all producers. They all make their own music. So they're the people that kind of get bigger. And I knew that, if I kept doing that and people started using my work, that there was a chance to grow. But while I was doing that as well, I wanted to try and get back to shooting bands, and the new night in Frankston opened up. So I worked with them for a bit as well.
Mm-hmm. It's funny as well because like when I kind of think about it, the reason that and probably the reason that you originally started doing hardcore was it's interesting to shoot the gigs, right? There's a lot happening, but also the bands have a lot of members. There's like 4, 5, 6 people in a band, so they can afford a photo shoot. But when I think about it, the DJs and producers, they make so much more money anyway. It makes sense now that you're saying it out loud and now that I'm thinking about it.
It's like one thing I learned was like obviously like I still listen to hardcore and like mosh metal and heavy music all the time, and everyone's still like when I'm in the scene, people ask like within nightclubs and stuff what I listen to, they always get really weirded out that that's what I listen to because they all just listen to electronically produced music.
Sure.
But it's I don't know, it's weird because I kind of figured that out as well because when you look at it, like clubs run every single week.
Mm-hmm.
They're open no matter what, so they're paying people every single week. So I think it's just a lot more opportunities for DJs and producers to earn money than there are for bands. Because I remember when I was in band and we went on tour and stuff, like it was hard, man. Like it wasn't easy to even just cover expenses.
Oh,
like,
no,
we did
definitely
the whole,
not.
like, we just did some mini tours around Australia and the whole, like, we'd take a couple of wagons, chuck our stuff in the back, like stay at friend bands' houses and stuff. And it really was quite hard to progress past that stage to the point where you can make a living out of it. And I think that's where like there's a bit of a branch, because a DJ is an independent person. They don't have, all they have to rock up with is their USBs and their CDs and their headphones, and there's one of them. Whereas if you're traveling in a band, you've got 4 other friends and you've got a lot of overheads with that.
Yeah, seriously. Like, and I hate to make it about money, because it's totally not about that.
Definitely.
That's not why we do it. But when you think about it, like, the better artists in your sort of scene, they can play 3 shows in one night comfortably.
Yeah.
They can like sling on their shoulder bag with, their headphones and their tunes and whatever. And they can, walk a couple of blocks to the next club and play another, hour, 2-hour set. And they can make a really good night out of that.
Exactly, man. So like there's I guess there's 2 sides to it with it all. Like some of the bands, or you see like, some big bands in the world, like they absolutely smash it. But I think maybe in the intermediate level, it's harder. And I know you say it's not about money, and I 100% agree, man. But at the same point, like if it's something you want to do with your life, you have to be able to afford to
absolutely.
pay your wages. And like, camera gear, everyone knows it's not cheap. Like it costs a lot of money. You've got to put in quite a bit of investment in that, and then obviously your skills and stuff as well. So you just got to stick at what you love doing. Like when I listened to all the heavy music, I liked electronically produced music, but it was more that I wasn't familiar with the scene, so I couldn't find the music that I liked.
Sure.
I felt very limited, and I just used to listen to Deadmau5 flat out all the time, because I loved his producing, like the build up in his music and stuff. And then so I kind of like was a bit familiar with it. But the thing I really like shooting about EDM and stuff is like the lighting production can be amazing. It can be insane.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can get some really, really interesting things.
One thing, I don't know if you're the man to talk about this, but one thing that I've always wondered and talked about with friends is how can you build a light show to match the set perfectly? Like how much of the set is, obviously it's pre-planned, but I don't understand how, like my friends, the heavy band Storm the Sky, they're like metalcore band or post-hardcore, whatever you call them. They've got their own lighting rig now, and they've built their set. So they've like basically like, how you punch in MIDI drums to the computer?
Yeah.
They've done that to their backing tracks and built a light show that perfectly suits their set. Is it a similar thing to let's say Scandal, who you work with?
It depends. That kind of stuff I notice more happens on like a big festival level.
Right.
Where it's like, but with the boys, if it's a club, kind of, we have our own visuals, like all the boys do. Sorry, and we send them off, and the club uses that, and there's just a lighting guy who actively does it. But I think you can kind of tell what's going to happen to a track, because there's a lead up and there's a drop, and then everyone starts getting into it, and then I'll just put something interesting on the screen. It's a bit more like there's someone doing lighting at a small gig. When you go to a small hardcore gig or something like that, and there's a lighting guy at the control desk. That's more what they have in clubs. But then like I shoot for Stereosonic as well, and when I was shooting Skrillex, I was shooting from like the production tent in the middle of the crowd, in the front of house, looking towards stage, and he has his own production guy who comes with him, right? And he just must know everything that Skrillex did, like just know him inside and out, and his set and his music and stuff. This guy, man, he was like he was DJing, but he was on the control mix, and he was just jumping around, like rocking out, changing all these like. Yeah, man, he was like changing all these lights, changing all this crazy footage on the display screen, like live feed cams, so like the crowd goes up onto the big screen, and he was just rocking it. And it was like he was on stage performing.
It was like he was doing his own set.
Yeah, but he was just doing it for the visuals.
So is it basically just a matter of someone who knows the set so well that they can actually ride the desk, they can actually like ride the faders and whatever and make the light show?
Yeah, I think so, man.
Yeah,
I guess like when the boys worked with Scandal have worked with Pasha in Sydney, I know they really put in a lot of effort to create a show with him, like with visuals and dances and pyro and all that kind of stuff.
I've seen some of that. Hey, there's even like full on props, like the lights in the triangles to suit the logo and like all that cool stuff.
Yeah, so some venues really will, like I guess it's more some like the premier venues, like the bigger main attraction venues in Australia have that kind of stuff, and it's pretty cool. It's really like, as a photographer, man, it makes life so much easier.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because I love being able to shoot without a flash.
Yeah.
And when there's these venues and these festivals that have all that kind of production, it really makes my life a lot easier.
That's the dream, honestly, because a lot of the bands that I work with, especially on the tours, they're the lower bands on the tours. They're, the touring support or the local support, and they get no lights, basically. They get no lighting show. So to have all this effort put in from someone else to ensure that the show looks good, that must be an absolute dream to shoot.
Yeah, man, it really makes life a lot easier.
Yeah,
it's really awesome when you have a good lighting tech who knows when to do what, like to suit the atmosphere and the crowd and the music, because like he'll put something on like the strobes and some lasers on it at a time that really suits, and you can get some great shots from it. But you missed, man, like I'm sure you'd appreciate it as well, like shooting smaller dark venues and stuff. If you get good lighting, it can obviously make a huge difference for shooting bands and stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes all the difference. Yeah, it's almost sort of like in the last 6 to 12 months that I've come to fully understand editing live shows, just like correcting for bad lights and whatever. And I feel like, some of the, like anyone can go to an arena show and take okay photos if they've got a reasonable camera. Anyone can, if the lights are awesome, anyone can take, reasonable photos. But if someone can make awesome photos in a shitty venue with crappy lights, then when you get to those arenas and those big shows, you're going to be on the next level, right?
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah,
so that's the thing for sure. And some lighting changes so fast that you've really got to be on top of your game.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what sets you apart, because you've done that. You've, shot those local shows. You've been a part of that culture before doing what you've done now.
Yeah, it helps, man. It's all about like getting experience, and like you want to be ready for when you get a good opportunity. So I'm sure the same as what you're saying. Like when you're saying comparing, anyone can shoot a good show and get all right photos. I think about it like anyone can take a decent photo of a sunset on their iPhone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But then there'll be someone with a camera who actually knows what they're doing, and you put the two next to each other, and they won't even compare.
Yeah, it's another level.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool, man. I love it. So, tell us a little bit about what your work is like these days. So you started shooting hardcore shows, you progressed to club photography and, DJ producers. What are you up to now? I know you work a lot with the group Scandal.
Yeah. So you're actually friends with Tom. Yeah, you went to uni with Tom.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I've been at uni full time as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished uni in the middle of this year. So I did a Bachelor of Science. And that was, I guess photography's only become something that I've really focused on in probably the past year to year and a half.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, one of my best mates when I was younger had a camera. And when I was 18, I ran around and checked it out. I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. So I got to get one, like a digital SLR. So I got one, and it was just, it was a bit of a passion, and it was a bit of a hobby, and then it kind of get a bit more serious. And then I know in the past year and a half, as I went through uni, I really realized that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But obviously being at uni full time, like I'm sure man, how hard it is to make a commitment to both. And I was getting frustrated because, there's quite a few opportunities I had to turn down that I was going to miss out on and stuff like that. So that was a bit frustrating. But yeah, from that, I finished uni in the middle of this year, and I was lucky enough, I guess, times worked out, and I started working with the boys Scandal full time, and we've done a few tours. We did an MTV tour around Australia, which is really cool, and they had like a video segment on MTV Australia on the channel.
I saw the commercials.
Awesome. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was like, my friend messaged me, like, she's like, did I just see you on MTV? Like, oh yeah, maybe you did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then from then, we did a tour around America together, and that was really fun. That was great. And then we've been back. We're back for a little while and did just some interstate gigs most weekends. So most weekends flying around, and then just got back from an Asia tour. We just did a month-long Asia tour, and that was really fun. That was a hectic travel schedule.
Yeah, you were telling me a little bit about that before we started recording. You were saying how hard it was to travel in between dates. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I guess when you think about it with DJs and producers, they're playing festivals and nightclubs, and they're generally only on the weekend.
Yep.
Like most people don't go out on Monday, Tuesday night. They kind of go out like Friday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So our first 2 weekends in Asia, we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday shows.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 3 shows in 3 days, but they were all in different countries. And there was one weekend where we had like 9 different flights, and we barely slept in hotel rooms, and we just slept on the plane. And we'd get to the next country, go out for dinner, go to the the hotel room for an hour, go to the club, and then go straight from the club back to the airport, and then fly like 3 flights, connecting flights, stop at Singapore, stop at Hong Kong, go there. So that was pretty hectic, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, crazy.
Definitely no complaining there.
And how late are the shows? Because obviously they're in nightclubs. Does that influence your travel schedule? Because you'd obviously be playing past 12 a.m. I'm guessing.
To be honest, it depends how much we decide to party.
Yeah, true.
Like it. I guess most of the sets will normally wrap out around 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I guess like when you think about a nightclub, the prime time's normally about like 12:30 till 2.
Mm-hmm.
But it really depends. Some places are early crowd. Some places are really late crowd. Like some places the prime time's at like 3:30 a.m. or something.
Okay.
So it just depends. But they kind of book flights regardless. We don't really have a choice. So sometimes you go from the club and you can get 6 hours sleep before your connecting flight the next day, or sometimes you got to go straight from the club to the airport, or sometimes you get an hour nap. You kind of just go back to the hotel room, shower, pack your bag, and then go straight to the airport. So it really just depends, I guess. It's all different.
Yeah, right. And so what sort of responsibilities do you have? Obviously, I've been seeing a lot of pictures coming up in my feeds. You've been getting a lot of the in-between moments, the touristy things and the boys having fun or chilling out by the pool. Or when do your duties end? Do they ever end?
Never, I guess. I think the same thing that you would experience, man, with bands. Like people, I think that these days with social media and the way it's all interconnected and stuff, like people love seeing photos of the shows and everything, but they like seeing photos of artists just being normal people.
Yeah.
And just doing, like, being at places there where they would be at, or eating food, or seeing tourist sites or whatever it is. People like seeing the downtime and the in between, because it's like a bit more of an insight into their life, and then just kind of like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. So I guess one of the important things like that I found is like you need to capture those moments, but you don't want to be draining it 24/7. Like, you don't want to be just photographing everything and making it to the point where it's like you're kind of separating yourself from interacting with them.
Yeah.
Like you need to, because at the end of the day, like, we're really good friends, we get along well. And there's like a line in the sand between working too much and taking too many photos and taking too far of a step back instead of being part of it all. So yeah, you get a bit of a balance, but when you see things, you grab them, and when they're not there, you can just chill out.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of having a tour photographer, hey, because I'm not sure about the sort of gigs that you play, but the sort of gigs that I play, there's 5 other photographers at every show, or the sort of gigs I shoot, I mean. But it's having the trust and having the relationship that you do with the band to capture the in-between bits, the journeys and the touristy things. If not for the sake of the band, as in, like, if not for them to post on their socials or whatever, just for them to have to look back on in 10, 20 years' time when they're remembering the amazing time that they had.
That's exactly what I agree, man. Like, we do the same thing. There's a lot of photos we take that will never see the light of the day publicly, but they're all going to be memories that, like, if in 20 years, the artists you work with or the artists that I work with can look back at it and remember those times and kind of have it documented, like end up having like their own little album of what they did when they were younger.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's ace.
I think that adds a lot of value as well. Like, not everything you take needs to be seen publicly.
Yeah.
Because some of the best photos you might get might never, ever end up on the internet or being published or whatever. But there could be some of the best photos because of that.
Yeah. And there could be the best photo, not because they mean something to a lot of people, but they mean a lot to the people involved.
Exactly, man.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
Rad.
So I don't know if you could talk about it, but you don't have to go into like figures or anything, but what is the agreement that you have with the band, or is it with the label, or how does it work? How are they able to have you with them, full time pretty much?
Oh, so are you talking about Scandal?
Scandal, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they need constant coverage because, they're playing shows every weekend, and social media is really important for pretty much anyone that's an independent kind of creative artist these days. Like, whether it be artists, photographers, or painters, or, writers, musicians, producers, DJs, bands, like whoever you are, social media is really quite important because that's where all your fan base is, and that's how people kind of know what you do.
Yeah,
I guess it's just the 21st century and the internet, and that's the way things are now. So generating content is obviously really important for them. So I'm able to go with them pretty much every weekend around to shows and stuff to help generate that content so that they have like consistent branding, and they always have stuff to put out on social media and thank you post. And like sometimes some clubs, you know, will have a photographer who's doing really well and is where I was at, you know, 2 years ago, really killing it. But some people might not have as high standard work as the boys are after.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that, I guess I'm pretty lucky that I'm out of work with people that I'm really good friends with now, that I get along with so well, that can have me there all the time. But I'm not really sure how to answer that specifically. I guess, you know, because they're playing shows every weekend, they can afford to live off what they're doing comfortably. And, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's a small business, you know, like they're with Part of Ministry of Sound, which is a big label and all that kind of stuff. So I guess if you're trying to look forward, you know, work forward to doing something like that, we're working with an artist full time, you just need to produce enough value that it's worthwhile you being there, I guess.
Yeah, 110% agree.
Yeah, when I travel with the boys as well, I do the tour managing as well, which is pretty much just a fancy word for like a little bit of logistics coordinating when you're traveling. Just kind of like, you know, getting in contact with the lifts and making sure we get to the airport on time and get in contact with the people that are running the shows and the hotels and all that kind of stuff, just to help make their life a bit smoother as well. And so, you know, the management on the Australian end know that they've got a bit of peace of mind that there's someone there that's, you know, on top of it all.
Looking after them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken about that with a couple of people on the podcast before. It's invaluable to have multiple skills. Like there's a lot of good photographers, but, you know, if you can TM or if you can help drive or if you can, you know, do sound or help loading gear, like that's so invaluable in terms of getting you out on the road with a band or artist. It just gives you, you know, it's just another arrow in the sheath, as they say, in the quiver. Yeah,
exactly, man. It's just like a little bit of something that is going to help provide a bit more value.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same as like, I guess a job. Like if you work for a company, you don't just want to be able to do one specific thing and that's it. Like you want to be of value to them, you know, to do more than just what you're hired for or what you know, what you're branded as. So if you're able to help provide a bit of value, like I do video as well now for the boys. So like we just make little 15-second video clips, you know, when there's new tracks coming out and stuff like that. So if you've kind of got, the multiple skills you said, obviously it makes you more appealing to people because you've got a lot more to offer.
Yeah, I like it. You're talking like a marketer. I like hearing the words value, the words content. Yeah, very good. So do you have a contract or anything with ministry, or is it with the boys? Do you have an agreement with the boys directly?
Yeah, an agreement, I guess. It kind of works out. The way that we found was the easiest way to do it was kind of like a salary.
Mm-hmm.
So some weekends I might shoot 3 shows, some weekends I might shoot 1. Some weekends we might not have much of a show and I'll work on editing a video or something instead. But it's kind of, it works out easiest that way.
Yep.
I think it's a pretty fair deal because apart from that, like I'm still shooting other things all the time as well. So it's great to be able to kind of like have those people that I'm working with full time. And like, I like the idea that like, I really look at it like we're working together to all be successful together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I had a pretty big offer from a big artist. I don't want to sound like, sorry, like I'm bragging or anything, but I had a pretty big offer from a big artist to go around the world with them and stuff. But I really like Tom and like I really enjoy their work. And I think that's
Timmy
something...
Trumpet by any chance?
Maybe, possibly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's with that, like I think I don't know if this is how everyone looks at it, but when I look at it, like if someone's hiring you as a photographer to tour with them, it's because they like your work.
Yeah.
Like that's why you're there. But I think it's really important that you like their work as well, because if you do, you're going to work so much better together and you're going to be motivated. And I'm really motivated by the idea like that I want the boys to get as big as they possibly can. Like, you know, headlining massive festivals over the world and that kind of stuff. And I want to like be part of helping that happen. If you know what I mean,
absolutely.
like working together to all get there. Because if we can, like if they can succeed with the help of me, then I can succeed as well.
Yeah, I like that. That's perfect. So you can, your relationship is such that, you know, there's benefit both ways and you can lift each other up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can help them achieve what they want to achieve. And in doing that, you'll also help yourself because they'll help you. They'll take you with them.
And if you obviously like, if you're a fan of what someone does, it makes it that much more motivating. Like if you work, it's like, I think it like if you work at a job that you really enjoy and you love the company, you love it, you're going to work really hard and you're going to do your best. But if you work at a job where it's like, man, I hate this place, just clock in 9 to 5 or whatever it is you do, then you're not very motivated to work harder and you won't add more value. Absolutely. So I think if you can find someone that like, if you're lucky enough, that's what I'm pretty grateful that I found, like someone that you you're both fans of each other and you get along really well, then I think you can really work together and make something cool.
I love it. So have you managed to, you're working a retail job as well?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
While I was at university, I was a manager of a $2 shop.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, living the high life.
No. Look, I tried for a while to do the photo thing full time, and it's cool. Like when it's like that feast of famine thing. When the work's coming in, it's awesome. Like you're living the dream. It feels great. But like getting that constant stream of revenue is sometimes really hard. But
it is, man. It's tough.
Yeah, but I do work a few days a week in a retail job now, and I've come to really appreciate it. While my photography is not where it needs to be to have a full-time income, it takes the pressure off so much to work a couple of days a week somewhere else and just have a consistent paycheck and not have to hustle for all the shitty jobs that I don't want.
Yeah, definitely, man. I was doing the same thing up until very recently, and to be honest, I quit my job because of the change of ownership, and the whole vibe at the workplace kind of changed, and it didn't really work out that much. But I definitely feel it takes the pressure off you, and Absolutely. It also means like it can, if you get to the point where you're relying solely on your photography, but as you said, you got to kind of like hustle for the smaller jobs. Photography starts to become something less of what you enjoy and something like that you have to do to live. And I don't think it should be that way. Like I've always said, if things don't, like, you know, if I can't get to where I want to be, or for whatever reason it doesn't work out, I'd rather work a job and have photography as a side income hobby that I do in the time that I like in my spare time that I absolutely love, rather than it being something that I depend on and that I no longer have like that passion for.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, 100%. Did you ever study photography by any chance?
No, man. I'm all self-taught. I'm a self-taught hack.
Yeah, well, because
YouTube's my friend.
Yeah, same. Because you basically got into it after you started your course at uni, right?
Yeah, that's when I kind of started to, you know, really take some photos and be like, hey, I kind of enjoy this. Maybe I'll learn a bit more.
Yeah. Well, it was the same with me. And I always, in many ways, I'm really glad about that, because I think that if I had have loved this growing up, I probably would have studied photography and ended up hating it. Because like you said, you'd rather have it as a hobby and something that you love and something that is your release and you want to put all your spare time into, rather than make it like homework and have, you know, shitty assignments or tasks to do that just do not stimulate you creatively and make you hate your craft.
Yeah, exactly, man. I agree entirely. And I know a lot of people have studied photography and loved it. I know a lot of people have done it and hated it and completely killed it for them.
Yeah.
When I was at uni, like I was really contemplating, like I was halfway through a science degree. I was like, do I want to go study photography or not? And one thing that I kind of realized myself, which I'm kind of happy for, is like I think that photography is a creative thing. And these days, like more or less you can learn anything off the internet. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to go learn stuff about quantum physics, I'm sure you can find stuff about quantum physics and on YouTube and get like a really great understanding of it. Like the internet is like an amazing source of information where people put like exactly you with this podcast, adding all that value to people to be able to listen to. I think with photography, it's the same thing. And I'm actually really glad that I never had any kind of formal training or one kind of like, you know, mentor teaching me stuff. Because what I kind of figured out myself is that if I had a mentor or, you know, someone teaching me photography, I was probably just going to become like a carbon copy of them. And I wasn't going to develop my own style and stuff, you know, and that wasn't really going to help benefit me. So although it took me a long time and I stumbled along the way, I kind of like, you know, just got little bits of information from all these different sources to help build up my own kind of style, my own knowledge base. I think that's really cool, like, because I know a lot of kids that, like, I've had quite a few kids message me and they're worried, you know, like I haven't studied and stuff. Like, man, you don't really need to study. Like not formally, you just study in your spare time and learn as you go. Yeah.
If you're driven, if you want something bad enough, like you can learn. It just takes a little bit of discipline, right? You just got to sit definitely. There and, well, basically you got to shoot.
Yeah.
You got to get out and shoot. Like you can, I mean, I'm sure the question you get more than anything else photography related is mates or like people on your page. They'll be like, hey man, I want to get a camera. What should I get? Blah, 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 blah. I want it for this. What do I get? It's like you can sit there for months and months and months and research a camera or a lens. But if you don't know if you don't shoot it, if you don't actually shoot and learn and improve, like it doesn't matter if you have the best camera and lens ever. Like just get something and get started. And if you have that personality that can self-teach and, you know, you are driven to learn, then you don't need to pay, $30,000 and spend 3 years at university to have that.
No, unless there's something like really specific you want to do. Like if you really want to become like if something like studio like model portraits and retouching stuff is really your thing. Like some of that more refined knowledge is much harder to find.
Yeah,
and then you may benefit obviously, doing a formal course with someone who has that knowledge to put to you. But my point is that like 95% of probably the information you need, the knowledge is out there for free with people that are providing it to you for free. You just got to go find it and take the time to learn it. And as you said, put into practice and just keep shooting and keep practicing.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think that's true. There was one other thing I was going to say about that, which is escaped me now. That's okay. We'll probably come back to it.
Sweet.
And I'm sure we'll come back to the tours and the EDM stuff, but there's a couple of other things that I just thought of as well. First of all, you just mentioned style before. One thing that I really appreciate about your work and particularly your edits is you sort of stay true in the last 12 to 18 months when everyone has jumped on the VSCO train.
Yeah.
Your edits, if I could like describe it to anyone listening, it's like very, very vivid, very clean, lots of bright colors. Does that sound?
Yeah, probably. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. I've tried not to punish the black point too much as well. But
yeah.
I get what you mean, man. Like the whole, the appeal to people at the moment with Instagram and stuff like that is, the VSCO. And if anyone doesn't know what VSCO is, it's like presets that are made that are like film emulations. Yeah, so it's meant to look like film, so like the whole idea of an Instagram filter, but these are much more diverse and true to original film. But I don't know, like I've mixed opinions about VSCO. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I've used like VSCO before, but I've never just used a VSCO preset. I kind of like, I'd look at a preset to see what they've done with the curves, how they've changed all the hues and all that kind of stuff within the preset, and then tweak it and change it and just take bits of information from that to make what I want.
Yeah.
But I think maybe just with EDM and shooting those big kind of events, I think a clean edit just really works for them.
I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's a big open place with lots of energy and lots of production of lots of good lighting and that kind of stuff. And I know I just always started with a clean edit and I liked it and I kept it. And I thought like a while ago, I'd have people tell me like they could always tell that if a photo had been taken by me because I had a style.
Absolutely.
And I don't see it as much, but to me that's a massive compliment because if my work looks the same as every other person's, then I don't really have a point of difference.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not, so I'd rather have, something that people can tell is mine. And I just think there's a time and place for all those kind of edits. Like I know a lot of amazing photographers who have that kind of film style look and they're doing incredible work.
Yeah.
So, it's a mixed thing. If it works for you, and if it doesn't, like there's no stress.
Don't get me wrong. I've jumped on the bandwagon as well. And for some time I've done exactly what you said. And I think anyone who does it properly, they're not just, whacking on the preset, whacking on the filter and exporting it from there. I think you have to, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not that easy. You have to tweak and learn and make it your own, adjust it for every photo. But what I sort of mean is the style. You know how every couple of years there'll be a new look. It used to be light trails and
that's
then it
how
was
I started, man. It was light trails.
Yeah, and then it was like that like real super detailed fake HDR look and then
the clarity overkill.
Yeah, exactly. And the current era is like, I just say Visco. Is it VSCO? I don't know. I say
Visco as well.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I just think it's commendable that throughout this era of that's what people's tastes are like. That's what everyone wants to see. That's what everyone's shooting. You've stuck it out with your own style. And I've always really...
That's the hard thing.
Yeah.
I think... Sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think that's the hard thing is like, if people, that's... I guess it's like the trend. That's what people want to see. So if you go do a photo shoot, someone they like, or you get them to send you some sample images of the look they want, like, that's what they want. And it's really hard if you're like, well, I kind of, I want to go this direction instead as a creative. But at the end of the day, if they're your client, their person, and that's what they want their image to look like, that's kind of what you have to go with, if you know what I mean. Like it kind of puts you in a hard place.
That's the crux of it, isn't it? We don't all jump on these trends because we're copying someone else. It's because that's where everyone's tastes are at that point in time. It's not that I look at, let's say Max Fairclough or James Killian, who absolutely nail their sort of grainy, vintagey. They do these beautiful, beautiful old style edits. It's not that I'm trying to copy them. It's that people want to see those sort of photos because that's where everyone's taste is at the moment.
Exactly. And I think Instagram has a lot to do with that. Like, I honestly believe Instagram has so much to do with that.
Do you mean that in terms of not like Instagram's filters, but you see someone with a beautiful feed on Instagram and all their photos are in that style? Is that what you mean?
I think both. I think because when Instagram came out, it was kind of, people would like those photos, that look of photos, but they didn't know how to create them because most people aren't, don't know how to edit photos and stuff. But then as soon as I got Instagram, it was like, oh, I can push this button and make it look like film, and it looks, nostalgic and all that, the awesome vibes and the warm tones that come from it. So I think that kind of started it. And then when you see a whole feed of someone who really nails it, it looks amazing. Yeah. And then so I think the combination of that, being a socially connected generation with Instagram and stuff, I believe that had a lot to play with it. That's what kind of started the whole ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's funny, I don't think anyone uses the inbuilt filters anymore, do they, on Instagram?
No.
Like, as in, even my non-photography friends, I don't think anyone uses it. But anyway, yeah, I think that really did change the game now that you mention it.
Yeah, that's just what I thought. Maybe that's what I noticed, or when I first got Instagram and I hadn't had Instagram. I held out on having Instagram for a long time. I don't know why.
Dude, so did I.
I just did.
I was like, I hate the square crop. Why would I do that? I took the photos in landscape. Why would I crop it? And then when I finally started using it, I fell in love. Yeah,
man. I kind of recently, I've always used the widergram thing, shot things in posted photo paper portrait.
Yeah.
But then now I'm like, I kind of like this square feed because when you go on it and it all looks square, it looks really cool. So I'm like, it's too late to change. I've got to stick to my guns.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what about now? Are you gonna keep on widergramming it? Because now with the new update, it's like natively landscape.
I know what I'm gonna do. I think the problem is I feel like a lot of my photos are full, the frame is full of important stuff. If you know what I mean, when I shoot big festivals and the crowd's really wide and there's fireworks going off from each side of the frame, I feel like when I crop it, I take something away. And I get I don't know why, I just get thingy about it. But now I'm not sure what to do because I don't have that many followers on Instagram anyway. It's not that great of a feed, but my whole feed's in, with white squares around it. And I'm a bit obsessive compulsive about it. So now I don't know what to do.
Well, that was exactly the reason, like you just said, you had up for so long. I did as well. I was probably a year late on Instagram, I reckon. And it was precisely for that reason. I just couldn't bear to crop. I felt like it was taking away from the photos I was taking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've grown to love it. It took a while. I resisted. I thought it was just some hipster fad, but it looks like it's going to be sticking around for a little while, I think.
It's a pretty awesome platform though.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to be disciplined. Do you post pretty much every day?
Man, sometimes I get through good stages, but it's so hard. It's such a little thing, but I don't know. You just get busy and forget. Sometimes I go through periods where really on top of posting, then other times I'm not. And I find with touring, it makes it really hard.
It makes it hard?
Yeah, to stay on top of posting.
Okay. I would have thought that makes it easy because you're always editing and you're always.
Yeah, I don't know. I always editing, but I suppose when you're overseas. When I was in America, I had a SIM, but when I was in Asia, we did about 10 different countries. So I didn't have a SIM, so you can only post when you have Wi-Fi.
True.
I don't know, you just edit and then time difference and stuff. I might be editing it at 10 or 11 p.m. And then, that's the equivalent of 1 or 2 a.m. over here. And there's not really much point in me posting because no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find it hard to stay on top of it. I don't really have a reason. I think I just need to make more of an active effort.
Yeah, I really need to do that as well. And I need to maybe just make a folder that I can just sort of start building a library, start building a backlog of stuff to upload. Because I really should upload every day just to, it sounds really weird, but just to keep my followers, sort of train them to like my photos, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
if you drop off the face of the planet and you post something after 2 weeks and you don't get much interaction.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sort of keep it happening, I find it seems to work a lot better.
I started doing the folder thing, but I just didn't execute it fully. But Dropbox is amazing. Dropbox is the best invention of the 21st century, I swear.
Dropbox is, it's unreal.
Yeah, because then you can just have a Dropbox folder with photos you want to post, jump on your phone and be like, oh, what do I feel like posting today? Find a photo and you're on.
Yeah. Do you use that with all your clients as well? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, is how now I send everything via Dropbox.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just make a folder for them. You know, if it's an event, I'll chuck however many photos in there that, you know, that they're after, and then they've got it there. And then often people need to email it to other people and stuff, like within the industry I work in. So it's really accessible, and it can just sit there. I just leave it sitting there for a few months, and then once it's done, I can just delete it and everything's fine.
Yeah, excellent. It's funny, isn't it? Every now and then, if I've done, let's say I shoot all the local freezer battles for the freezer groups every year, and every now and then, so I'll always put them. I'll do low res and high res in a Dropbox folder, send it through. Every now and then, one of the older youth workers, or someone that's a little bit out of touch with technology, they'll be like, "Oh, Dropbox isn't working. I don't know how to do this. Can you email me the photos?" And it's like, I'm not sure if you realize, but there's 250 photos in this folder. If I email that to you, I can pretty much only do 6 or 7 at a time. Yeah. That's going to take me about 10 hours.
Yeah, or you can just click download and they're all there on your computer.
You can just open the link. Yeah. People don't understand. That's what they need to teach in schools. I get really frustrated
when people send me like 6 months later, like, oh, the Dropbox link isn't working. Can you send it to me? And it's like, I've deleted the folder because it's 6 months later.
Yeah, dude, too late.
And then I'm like, oh my God, like I don't have all those photos in the collection I can just upload. Like if you really need them, now I need to go back through Lightroom, find all the ones I exported and stuff. Like, because I didn't make an individual like collection or anything for it. Yeah. It's just like, oh gosh, it's such a hassle.
Do you have a premium membership with Dropbox?
Yeah, I got a I'm not the business one, but whatever the personal one is.
Yeah,
got a lot of space.
The 1 terabyte or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like with working with an artist full time, I honestly couldn't live without it now.
Because do you delete them because you just run out of space every year, or?
No, I never used to have the premium one.
Okay.
So I used to only have like a couple of gig, and then I'd have a folder and be like, oh, I need this one needs to go because I need to send this folder to a client. But then I just was like, all right, this is a bit silly. I should probably just pay the small fee and get a premium account. Yeah,
it was the best thing I've ever done, hey?
Yeah, it's really great for your workflow.
Yeah.
And another really cool thing that I'm going to start doing is I've got an old 15-inch Fat Boy Mac, the one with the disk drive and stuff.
Yeah.
But I took the hard drives out and put a solid-state hard drive in it and stuff, so it runs really well still, but it weighs a ton. And like with my camera bag and all my gear, it's kind of like, without the laptop, it's okay, but with the laptop, it's like the breaking point. Like it's too heavy.
I
think my bag weighs like 15 kilos.
Exactly the same thing. Because I think I spoke to you guys, I don't know, 6 months ago about changing up some parts in my old MacBook. You gave me some advice, and it worked an absolute treat.
How good is it?
It's such a vibe killer to have in your backpack. It actually just ruins your day. It's
so heavy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my 15-inch at home hooked up to my screen to edit on, but I'm just going to get like a little MacBook Air or a little maybe even like the new just MacBooks, probably the MacBook Air actually because it's more powerful, and then you can store your Dropbox catalogs on your Lightroom catalog on Dropbox. And what it means is like you can essentially have a catalog that synced across 2 laptops and it's completely portable, and it's like,
so that's like, is that part of like the Lightroom Creative Cloud sort of services or what?
No, literally, like, so how your Lightroom catalog is just a folder, like a file in a folder somewhere on your desktop.
Mm-hmm.
No, because Dropbox is also a folder on your desktop, like on your actual laptop itself, on your hard drive. All you do is you just put your Lightroom catalog onto Dropbox, and then you tell Lightroom that's where the catalog is, and then you do your work. So say I'm editing on my little portable laptop on the road, it's just all running off that, saving, get back to internet, the Lightroom catalog will update and upload in Dropbox, and they can jump on my MacBook or at my desk and open up the catalog, which is in Dropbox as well, and it's all up to date with everything that I did on the road.
So the only problem I see there is if you've got the Dropbox synced on your MacBook Air, let's say, when you hit Wi-Fi, isn't that it's going to sync everything from your desktop to your Air, right?
No, it'll just sync the change. So every time you close Lightroom, it rewrites the catalog file and updates it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have Wi-Fi, that catalog file sit in Dropbox, but it won't have uploaded to cloud, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And then when you get to Wi-Fi, it'll upload the updated catalog. And then when you jump on your laptop, on your desktop or whatever, you'll have whatever changes you made on your MacBook Air will be on your MacBook or your desktop as well, because it's the same catalog. It's just being shared across two systems, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So the identical catalog, and it's always up to date, right?
Yeah.
You've still got to have it all on the MacBook Air, don't you? Like it's still.
Yeah, you still need to have it on it. It's still going to take up disk space.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a Lightroom catalog's not that big anyway. Like, it'd be fine. And for someone that's traveling a lot, I haven't done this yet, but I've been looking into a lot, and I think it's going to make things much easier for me.
So, I'm sorry if I'm ruining your brain here, but can you have the catalog backed up to Dropbox, but the files are an external?
Yep, and use smart previews.
Cool, I like it.
Smart previews. If there's any photographers out there that don't use smart previews, get on it. It's like smart previews is my favorite thing.
Smart previews is like it's like it gives you not one-to-one, but just like a regular size preview, even when you've taken the external out. Is that right?
Yeah, so you can essentially edit offline. So you can import your photos onto an external hard drive, import them into Lightroom, and then if you click Smart Previews, what Lightroom does is it makes the file size is small, but the actual photo isn't, but it makes a little copy of the photo and stores it on your hard drive, like actually on your computer, and then you can disconnect your external hard drive and still edit all your photos as if your hard drive is plugged in, and you can export them up to like 2,500 pixels along the long edge big. And then when you plug your hard drive back in, if you want to need to export them bigger, all the changes are automatically applied. You don't have to do anything. So you can essentially just edit thousands and thousands of photos without even having to have your external hard drive plugged in. And if you shoot in RAW and your computer, like my laptop starts to really kind of slow down if I'm in Lightroom editing full-size RAW images, like they're massive. All I do is like, even if I don't need to take my laptop out, my hard drive out, I just create smart previews for all of it, unplug the hard drive. It speeds up my editing time like tenfold, and then I just plug the hard drive back in and export them at full size.
Yeah, perfect. I can
it's really great.
See, that would be invaluable traveling.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
Yeah, nice one. So I mean, we've talked a lot about your touring and traveling and your EDM stuff. What else turns you on creatively? Because I know you do some pretty killer landscapes as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really enjoy landscapes and nature. I guess maybe I did environmental science at uni, so maybe that's got something to do with it. That's just right. That whole vibe.
Yeah, because you did some. You went to Africa.
Yeah, I went on a little safari to Africa, which was awesome.
Yeah, I remember seeing
that was a really cool experience.
Incredible wildlife photos.
Thanks, man. So yeah, I really like that as well. Well, one day I'd really like to be the typical Nat Geo photographer for National Geographic. I think that would be awesome. Like, we like that. But while I'm younger and stuff, I'm really enjoying the music scene. I'm going to start I'm working with this is just a very fresh idea, but I'm working with a friend. We're going to kind of start a small company, or a smaller brand, sorry, to cater for more model kind of stuff, I guess. Yeah. You know, and I guess that would be more Visco inspired because that's the look that everyone likes with that.
Sure.
But yeah, I like that. I guess I try and not shoot too much as well. And that might sound silly, but I just don't want to kill things. I don't want to get it to be a bit draining.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, mostly music. I really want to get back into shooting bands.
Okay, cool.
Back where I started. We have to go shoot a gig together sometime soon, man.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I often I've got a pretty good list of bands that I work with regularly now. The cool thing about doing lots of band promos is every 6 months or 8 months or whatever, the same band will come back and we'll do some new promos.
Yeah.
But often, something happens and I won't be available, and they're like, who else can you recommend? And there's not too many. I mean, this might sound a bit conceited, but there's not too many people doing band promos like I do in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to start shooting bands, I would love to start sending some bands your way. Is there much room for promos in the EDM scene?
It's all press shots. You know what I mean? So it's often like a studio with a plain colored background, something they can use for flyers. Yeah, on posters. That's where most of that is. So studio stuff. And I've just, up until recently, I've been uni and traveling so much, I just really haven't had the time. But now I've got a few months in Australia and stuff, and only away on the weekends. I'm really going to start doing a lot more of that stuff during the week. But even I really want to start shooting live bands again.
Cool.
It's just something that I really enjoyed, and I really enjoy the music still. Like I listen to that continuously. So yeah, I really want to get back out and just start shooting some local gigs again.
Yeah, just for fun. Hey.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That used to be the local scene. Like when I played in bands and stuff, it used to be so good. Like I don't know if anyone knows where like Frankston is, but in Seaford, which is next to Frankston, like there was a festival called Psych Your Mind, and go look it up. I think it was in 2009, and the lineup for that was amazing. Like they used to get to see some really, really good bands, and like I got to play with the Ghost Inside twice.
How cool is
and,
that?
Like, yeah, we used to have like really good lineups, but the scene kind of died down. I'm not quite sure why. I think people just went to partying more and stuff.
Man,
so
in like the southeast, in like what would you call it, like Bayside? Because I'm on the Frankston line as well. I'm in like the Hyatt Cheltenham sort of area. So I was playing and shooting shows down the way as well, like Morty Alec, Chelsea, Seaford, whatever else. But there's just nothing down there at the moment. Yeah,
there's nothing. I think everyone kind of just went to partying, and I'm not really sure what happened, but that's just the way it went. So I guess like sometimes I want to shoot a show, but there isn't really much options.
Yeah. So, it's all a bit central now. It's all sort of like, in and around the city, Footscray.
Yeah.
Like CBD. What else? Just in and around the city, it seems, which is unfortunate because I think probably there's a lot less bands coming out of our sort of area now because there's less gigs because they don't go to shows and get inspired and want to start a band.
Yeah, there isn't that much support. It kind of just fell apart.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I honestly think kids just went to partying and EDM. I think that's what happened. Or that, and I think more like the Triple J kind of vibe. Like more chilled out. Yeah. Alternative bands, like. But yeah, I know it kind of went a bit slow, but there's still some bands that are doing really, really well, which is awesome to see. Yeah, well, I mean, the first one that comes to mind from my neck of the woods is Ocean Grove. They're just blowing up. They're doing sick. They're sort of like the last of that sort of, let's say 3-4 years ago, sort of heavy local scene. Yeah, definitely. A lot of the local shows that I do shoot recently, and again, I've had this conversation a few times, but there are a lot of photographers. There's like sort of 4, 5, 6 photographers at a quite small show. Was it the same? Okay. Do you remember the same sort of thing when you were shooting, or was it a bit less popular? Maybe not like 5 or 6, but 3 or 4. There'd be a few. There'd be a few people there of like varying, I guess, like experience levels. Yeah. And then sometimes, a band would have their own photographer and stuff. But I think it's a good thing. Yeah. Like as long as everyone's not like, as long as it's like correct etiquette and everything, like it's an awesome thing to see so many people out there getting out and taking some photos and doing what they enjoy. Cause I think it's a great way to start. I think music's a really good thing to shoot, in terms of learning photography, and being inspired, because obviously there's lots of things that change and lots of energy, but the lighting changes and you've got to be on top of your shutter speed to make sure you freeze motion properly and all that kind of stuff. So it's got a lot to offer. And I think it can really help you. I think shooting music really helped me get my head around really understanding a camera properly and the variables. Yeah. Because you have to kind of be on top of them to produce the kind of photos you want. And you can do things with slower shutter speeds and faster shutter speeds and, creating silhouettes against backlights and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really good place to start, if you want to get a bit better of an understanding around the camera and stuff like that. And I know shooting music kind of made me comfortable having no control over lighting. Yeah. Like it's kind of weird. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, but I feel almost more comfortable now shooting things where I have no control of the lighting and I just have to figure out a solution than I do about controlling everything completely. Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's why I like landscapes and music so much, because they're both things where like there's something there and I have to capture it and I can't control it. You have to make something out of what's there. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think lots of kids going to shows and taking photos is definitely a great thing. Yeah, I think it's pretty good as well. It's also that thing of like, like a bit of friendly competition, a bit of, what's the saying? It's like competition breeds innovation. So it sort of makes everyone better, because definitely without verbalizing it or without sort of ever, actually competing, of course you're competing. You want to be the best you can be. Yeah, definitely. It's just going to help you give a little bit of motivation behind you to keep going and doing your best you can. Yeah, excellent.
But what does that sort of scene look like in terms of the EDM? If you're going to see one of these artists at a club, can you just bring a camera in, or are there sort of gatekeepers?
You can't really, because of like, I guess, like OHS and all that kind of stuff and laws and stuff. Like normally what will happen is the venue will have their own photographer,
mm-hmm.
and then pretty much you can only come if you have like written consent from the club itself, which would normally be like, maybe say like an online publication or something, want to come do some coverage of the night.
Mm-hmm.
You can get through that way, or shooting for an artist directly. It's kind of tough like that. Like I know gigs you can just, like concerts, like, smaller gigs, you can just rock up with a camera. But with clubs, I think just because, I guess, the more formality of it, and the venue itself is a business more, it's a bit harder. But in saying that, when I shot like the Amity Affliction and 360, I just went to Pier Live Hotel in Frankston and just bluffed my way through. Which I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I wouldn't tell people to do it necessarily.
Hey, if you got
like,
the charm.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're confident, you can get away with a lot.
Yeah, cool. So like, for someone starting out, if someone wanted to do what you're doing, how do you start? If you don't know the artist and you don't work for the club, how do you start doing that sort of thing?
Honestly, man, when I started, I couldn't get anyone to give me a gig. No one would give me opportunity because everyone's like, oh, like, have you worked anywhere else? No, have you got any photos we can see? Oh, well, not really, but I know I can do it. Well, sorry, man, we can't really hire you. Like, we can't take that risk.
Yeah.
So I live really far away from the city. I live down the peninsula in
mm-hmm.
Melbourne, in a place called Mount Martha, which is kind of in between Rosebud and Mornington. So, as I was saying earlier, when I was speaking to you before we started the interview, I think, EJ, I was saying that my girlfriend at the time got an interview from a company called Get a Nightlife. And this was a company that shoot out kids for free to clubs to take photos, and then you could find your photo online, and that was the business. But you didn't really get paid as a photographer. But I kind of knew that if I wanted to crack into the scene, I needed some photos to be able to show someone.
Had to have something,
and no one was going to give me a chance. So, yeah, I used to drive 140 Ks, like round trip from my house to the city and back, to go shoot a club for free, and like all the petrol costs and everything, and then go to work or university next day off 2 hours sleep. And like, obviously shooting for free isn't ideal as a creative. Like, you really need to know your worth. But it was kind of just what I had to do to get a bit, just to get something behind me that I could then use as leverage and, a bit of a portfolio to show someone that I can do a good job. So I did that for a little while and got some good photos, really concentrated on getting some good photos of the DJs and stuff like that, and good patron photos. And then from that, I was able to then locally, I was positioned to open up with an entertainment company that was running a few nights and a few smaller independent festivals and stuff. So showed them my work, did a trial, got a job, and then just from there, like, I guess it's just all working the way up. It's kind of thing that's hard unless you know someone to slot in midway. It's really one of those things that you kind of have to start, as typical and cliche as it sounds, like start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah. Man, driving Mount Martha to the city to do an unpaid gig and then driving home and having work the next day. Like, if anyone listening is not familiar with Melbourne and maybe where the Mornington Peninsula is, that's a huge drive. Like, I'm
pretty sure it's 140 kilometers round trip.
Yeah, well, like, to put it in perspective, from my house to the city, I think it's probably about 20 kilometers. And I'm often like, can't be bothered. It's like 25, 30 minutes maybe, like straight down a Pin Highway. But like, from where Nathan is, that's a huge deal. I know there's like a couple of clubs out your way. There's like the Bay and what's the night at Chelsea Heights? Do they still do that one?
Oh, Hump Day. Yeah, no, that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, yeah. So that's sort of closer to you, but even so, to Melbourne City, like, that's a long way.
Yeah, man, but it's just what I had to do. Like, I knew that I kind of knew what I could do. Like, I was confident in myself. I knew that if I could get some work and, like, just a chance to produce some work, I could use that as leverage to then, get a spot working with a company. And then from then on, I just made sure I made the most of getting good photos of the DJs, because it's kind of, I guess it's different to shooting gigs. Like, when you shoot a gig, you're there to shoot the band. But when you work for a club, obviously the club wants an album of photos of patrons that then people go online and use that on social media and use their profile picture and stuff and promote to the club. So shooting clubs is a bit different in that aspect, in that I would kind of put up with taking all the photos of the patrons so that I could make the most like of the opportunity to get good photos of the DJs. And then I'd always send the next day. I'd always send the DJs the photos,
Yeah.
for free. Like just like, hey man, here's some photos I took. If you enjoy them, like here's my work. And from that, like I guess I was able to build up a base of a lot of people that are of stature in the industry using my photos. And then it kind of just grew from there. It's just all stepping stones.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a little bit of a rare thing doing that in that scene. Like in terms of, with bands, there's a lot of photographers doing that. There's a lot of photographers shooting the shows, and then the next day they'll send you the photos because they're hoping for, they'll send it for free, but they might be hoping for a couple of Instagram shout outs or whatever. But I can only assume that there's not too many people, or that there at least weren't when you were doing this on the EDM side.
Yeah, I kind of just saw a bit of an opportunity with it. So I tried to just stay with a good work ethic. I used to party and stuff as well and have fun, but I really want to make sure that I knew that if I wanted to progress further, that artists were the ones that would help me do that.
Mm-hmm.
And not drunk patrons in the nightclub.
Yeah, and I guess
you get what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Because I guess the club nights and the promoters, they sort of come and go, but if you can get in with some artists that are on the climb, they're probably going to take you further than any of those other factors.
Yeah, and just generally, like, they're not the biggest artist themselves, but if they upload your photo and, they credit you, well, you don't know who's going to see it. Like, they're going to have lots of industry connections. And from that, important people who run events or manage artists or run record labels or run festivals and that kind of stuff. So I think you just got to concentrate on putting your best work out all the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
I like that.
From there, just stepping stones. I get a lot of kids messaging me like, hey man, like I've been shooting clubs for 4 or 5 months now and I can't get anywhere. And it's kind of like, man, you're just new to it. Like it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
I think people just want things to happen straight away within that scene.
Yeah.
And it takes a bit of time. Like it took me time. It is what it is. Like you can't really just expect to start taking photos in a nightclub 1 month and then next month be shooting main stage at Stereosonic or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just going to take a bit of time, but it's good because it allows you to get really good at what you do so that when the right opportunity comes along, you can really nail it.
Well, to be honest, I think that's why you do get to shoot stereo and you do get to tour full time with Scandal and you get to do all that cool stuff is because you were putting in the work in the early days selflessly. You weren't putting in that work waiting for the return. You weren't like, oh yes, if I do this, I'm going to get this major tour. I'm going to get on tour with this artist. I'm going to shoot this big festival. You were doing that because that's what you were doing. You were just hustling. You weren't even necessarily expecting the reward or particularly the rewards that have come now for all your hard work, but you were just hustling, for hustle's sake, because that's what you did.
Yeah, you just got to do it, man. Like if you're motivated, you'll get there. There's no doubt. Yep. It may take some time, but if you're prepared, like time's good because it allows you to get lots better at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I had times where I was like, oh, I can't handle working in nightclubs anymore. Like I want to quit. But then I'll just kind of wake up the next day and be like, if I quit, I can't get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
So it's draining. Like if there's anyone, I don't know, nightclubs, to be honest, aren't the funnest thing to shoot. Or they can be at the start, but then after a while it's pretty repetitive and it's a bit draining. But if there's anyone out there that's really trying to get to that next level, just stick at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like really stick at it. There's always artists that are going on the rise, always getting bigger. There's lots of opportunities. You just need to make the most of them.
Yeah. And like you said, you'd send the photos to the smaller artists the next day and, they'd be stoked on them or, whatever. I also think there's something to be said about just having your name seen over and over and over. Like if you've got 10, 15, 20 artists in the local scene using photos that you've taken that's got your name attached to them, just through sheer statistics, your name and your Facebook page or your Instagram or whatever, that's going to start getting on people's radars. I think that's...
Yeah, and then when someone thinks about like, oh no, I need someone to shoot a nightclub or DJ or something, you're going to be the name that pops into their head.
Yeah. Well,
and then,
That's the only reason that I'm still shooting band promos because, a couple of years ago, a show flyer would come out and there's 5 bands on the bill and, all of them are the bands that I've worked with.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like just through, I wasn't making very much money those days. I think I was charging like $120 a shoot or something, not very much. And it didn't matter because I was shooting so much that everyone was knowing my name and my page. And I can only guess it's the same with you. Well, you did exactly the same thing as what I did. Like you did a lot of work that wasn't really worth the money for the long-term gain. And now you're getting to go tour America. Like it's the same thing with what I did essentially. Like shooting nightclubs wasn't really worth
the money as such. And I spent a lot more time on things like post-processing and just sorting photos and taking photos than what it was worth. But I knew that in the long run, it was all about building an image that made my work look as good as it could, and opportunities would come from that. It's exactly what you did, man, with all your band promos.
Yeah.
And shooting shows, now you're getting to go on tour around America for like a month or whatever you're doing, which is pretty full on.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Anyway, that's enough about me. So is there any pivotal moments or like a relationship that you can pinpoint for me that was like a real game changer for you?
From working with people I just became friends with lots of artists as well. So that was all gradual. Timmy Trumpet was a really nice guy who kind of really enjoyed my work and put a bit of backing in me, but I didn't tour with him as such or work with him much. My friend George, who I said is like the man of Melbourne, the EDM man, he did. I think the main turning point was when I got to photograph Stereosonic for Stereosonic. I think that was the relationship that really helped me get to that next level.
Yeah.
And from then, like I've been able to score some big shows with them and stuff, and which is really cool. I think that just helped. I guess it like helped validate me as a photographer a bit as well. Like not just like in a nightclub taking photos, so like shooting for one of the country's biggest festivals for them as well. And shooting stages and stuff. So I think that relationship really helped me get to the next level, and then hopefully it's going to help me keep climbing as well.
Was there I'm trying to think back and I can't remember what it was called, but was there a big tour that you did before Stereosonic that might have been like was it like Ultra Glow Party or something like that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Ultra Glow definitely helped a lot. Ultra Glow is a paint party festival, and they were doing a tour. And I was very, very fortunate that those guys put their backing in me. So when I kind of scored that tour, I went out and bought like a 5D Mark III and new lenses and stuff, and really backed myself from that.
Yeah.
And that definitely helped as well. Like that was kind of the stepping stone between club gigs and festival. Was that they really helped, get in between that. And then last year I was their media director, which was pretty cool. I got to like a team of photographers and coordinate together, and how we edit the albums and put it all together and stuff, which that was a cool experience. Pretty stressful, but it was cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, Ultra Glow was a really great stepping stone. Very fortunate those guys put their trust in me, and yeah, we got to see some cool things and shoot with some and bigger artists and stuff as well. But I definitely say it, like from that, once I really got to stereo, they helped me kind of get to a more of a level that I was looking to get to, because that was my goal. Like I didn't really know much about the EDM scene. All my knowledge was in hardcore mosh metal bands and like things like Vans Warped Tour and Soundwave and stuff. Like that was what I knew.
Sure.
But I knew that stereo was the kind of pinnacle of Australia. So that was kind of my goal that I set myself on the start. I was like, yeah, I want to shoot Stereosonic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Does it feel like once you got a couple of those things under your belt, that so like it's almost like forget actually shooting them, like you've got the skills mostly already, like you can do the work, right? But does it feel like apart from that, just having that stuff to your name to be able to show people that you've done those things was a bit of a tipping point? Did that help you get the next level of gigs?
Yeah, it does, because it just really validates you. Like you've got your great photos and stuff, but it's kind of someone's willing to back you, to hire you, to work for them. I guess it helps, but it's still hard to. I think one thing that's hard that people struggle with, they'll see something like, okay, I want to photograph this, like, I want to shoot it. And so they'll hit the people up, and, event organizers are pretty on top of things. So they've probably already contacted someone to photograph. And they may be like, oh yeah, well, we're happy to come down, but we don't have a budget anymore and stuff. And because you're almost asking someone to employ you, contacting people to get jobs is hard. So I think it's more about networking, making people familiar with your work, and then you can get the bigger things. And that's what, once you start to get a few things under your belt, that's the main value I think that adds, because people can kind of see that, you may not get the gig this month or this year, but if people are familiar with your work and they see it's associated with these big events, you'll be on their mind for next time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that kind of help answer your question?
Yeah, I like that. It's almost like social proof, right? They can see that someone else has taken a chance or like has the trust in you to do that sort of thing, so they can take that risk as well. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, cool.
Yeah. and like it really helps validate, you know, like if you're good enough to shoot that, then they're like, oh, okay, well, they're good enough to shoot our event as well for this artist or whatever else as well. But it's just when you're starting, it's harder to get to that point, obviously. But you just got to make the most of your opportunities, and it's just all about stepping stones.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I love this conversation. This has been an insane amount of value, and it's been something that I'm not familiar with. So, I mean, not that I'm going to go out and start shooting clubs anytime soon, but I think I've really learned a lot. And I think anyone that is looking to get into that stuff, I think this is going to be invaluable, this hour and a bit of conversation. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, man. I just want to help people as much as possible, because when I started, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it much. So I kind of just stumbled my way upon. So if anyone ever has any questions, like, I'm not the biggest person in the industry doing this kind of stuff, but if you have any questions, just hit me up. Like, I'm always happy to help wherever possible.
Yeah. So where can we send...
Thank you so much. Oh, yes. Just where you can contact me.
Yeah. Where can we send people to check out your stuff, or like, how can people, reach you if they want to have a chat or whatever?
My Facebook page is just Nathan Doran Photography.
Mm-hmm.
It should pop up if you search it. And then on there, there's like, should be a link to my Instagram. My Instagram is just Nathan Doran. And email address and stuff, just contact me however you want. I'm not really that fussed. If you jump on Facebook, that's probably the easiest way to find a link to my website and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Look, I'll make sure to link it all up in the show notes so no one misses out on the spelling or anything. So I'll make sure all the links are in there. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me, man. Like, we've been trying to tee this up for so long. So it's good to finally be able to do it.
Yeah. Look, on the looking on the bright side, it's been really good to have this gap in between, because like we mentioned at the start, it's probably been over a year, and I think you've accomplished so much in that time. And apart from that, I think I probably just wouldn't have given as good of an interview, as good of a podcast a year ago. So I think it's worked out really well. But yeah,
there you go. It all worked out in the end.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it, and I know a lot of people are going to find this really valuable.
Awesome. Thanks heaps for having me, man. It was great.
Cool, man. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Hope you enjoyed that session that I had with Nathan Doran. As always, the show notes can be found at bigpantsphoto.com/podcast. I probably said that already, but here I am saying it again like a broken record. It's been a little while in between drinks. I actually recorded this a few months ago. Since then, I've been on tour. I've been away for a couple of months in the US. I've come back. I've got a few episodes in the bank now, a few saved up, and a few sort of half-finished ones that are in the works as well. But I'm going to try, at least for the next month or two, to have something for you guys every week. If you're enjoying the podcast so far and you would like to help, you would like to give back, I would always appreciate a rating or a review on the iTunes store. You can do that very easily. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. It takes a few seconds, and it really helps us get ranked in the iTunes search results and get into the ears and eyes of people who could use this content the most. As always, I appreciate you. Have a fantastic week shooting, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.